What's up guys, this is Saiyan here coming at you with another Dragon Ball card game, CCG, whatever you call it, deck profile. Continuing this little mini series where we are looking at set specific decks. Today it's time for set 4, aka Fusion. And I am going to walk you through, guys, my initial villain alien set 4 deck only. So to start with, let's start with the warriors as we do it usually. We are looking at 0 drops, 3 Dracula Man. Dracula Man is a fairly good 0 drop, to be fair. Not only does he give us the color that we need specifically for our chi, but also he comes down as a 4/0 with his ability to get +2/+0 the turn it is played. Then he does drop back to a 2/0, but he's the only 0 drop that can actually swing for 4 on the turn he was played in. And then if you then do block with him and he gets injured, then you got a 1/1, a nice little support value of 1 that can be quite good. Especially as we're going to go through the cards in this particular deck, there is a very distinct lack of diversity within the warrior cards. A lot of them are so set 4, I think there was definitely an emphasis on making the cards either head warriors or making them like a really obvious support warrior. So we got 3 Dracula Man, and we have 3 Zunama. Now Zunama needs to be splashed in here. He is definitely one of the best 0 drops in the game. The only 0 drop that is a 3-0 even after he gets injured, so very, very powerful. But of course there is a little drawback to this as well. If Zunama is basically removed from the game, then you need to remove 1 Dragon Ball coin you control. If Zunama has Dragon Ball coins on him, you can't use those because those disappear with Zunama. So if Zunama has Dragon Ball coin, you have a Dragon Ball coin on another warrior, then you need to get rid of that Dragon Ball coin on another warrior. But besides that, it is an epic 0 drop. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I think that as a card itself, Zunama is definitely in the top 3 0 drops. Even like I say top 3, not top 1, because it does have a drawback. But if you look at Goku, obviously it does turn into a 2/0, so that's very decent. But to me, Yamcha and King Cold, they do a lot of work just setting up your later plays in the game. But anyway, Zunama must be included in a set 4 only deck. Moving on to 1 drops. I'm running 3 Captain Ginyus, and yes, his defense values are absolutely rubbish, but more often than not, you're not going to run into a situation where your Captain Ginyu gets injured, because you got quite a lot of beaters for your turn 0s. Captain Ginyu is used for his 2 support. It's an early warrior that comes down and just gets... you behind Zunama turn 0, Zunama turn 1, you got Ginyu down. That is a team power of 5. That's fairly decent. If you didn't get a head warrior down in the turn 0, then you can use Ginyu as your head warrior because he does have a 3 attack. So definitely got a couple of different means, a couple of different ways to utilize Captain Ginyu. A fairly underrated card for turn 2. 2 drop is our Mummy Man, another 3/0/3/0, and I think he's overlooked because of that, but he's the lowest cost fierce card in the game. So I think him and maybe, is there a Tian maybe? Maybe not even a Tian. Maybe the Tian is a 3 drop actually. I'm not 100% sure right now, but Mummy Man is really good, really solid stats. Even if injured, he still remains a 3/0, and that Fierce one, it is a valid effect, so you still get the Fierce even if he's injured. Just a really good head warrior here. Now we do have a little flavor of Cooler's Force in this deck. Knees particularly is ran in here for his defensive support capabilities. A 3/3, obviously we want to utilize that 3 support value. Even if injured, he still gives 2 support values, so really solid supporter. Unfortunately, it does cost 1 alien chi, which is a little bit expensive, I think, for a 3-drop, but he's fairly good in any player strategy phase, yours or your opponent's. For one measly chi, you can give one of your opponent's warriors -1/-1. Well, technically it says target warrior can be yours as well, but I don't see why you would use it on yours. He's ultimately in there for the support value. If you got the extra chi, then you can do the -1/-1 ability as well, so it's a nice to have. We run one Dure, just to have another head warrior there for another 3-drop in case we don't pull a 4-drop in time, then we can use Dure. Toughness, not really a big deal. He also costs 1 alien chi, but he's a solid 5/4, 5/0, 4/0, so can definitely come clutch in situations where you just really quickly need another head warrior, because you might have gotten a defeat against your opponent. If your head warrior was already injured, then you want to replace it, get Dura down, happy days. Now, when it comes to set 4, obviously the androids are back in set 4, and we have the good old combo of Android 15 and Android 14. Every time I do a video with these guys, I have to highlight that Bandai screwed up the naming. Of course, this is 14, this is 15, never mind. For the purpose of the card game, just use them as they are, otherwise things get very confusing. What's really cool about Android 14 is that when you play him, when you deploy him, you're allowed to deploy 15 as well from your hand, but obviously, because it says deploy and not put into play, you have to pay the chi cost of 15 as well. But these two guys come down because 15 has ally 14. These two are basically, you get immediately a team power of 8, and you can have 2 more warriors in this team. So if you got, let's say, a Naze, for example, then that's another 3. And if you can put like maybe a Captain Ginyu behind them, then you get another 4. So you got like a team power of 13 with the 4 of them, which is really good. These two guys, even though yes, they are pretty much vanillas after they come down, it is a force to be reckoned with, because every card that allows you to break the game, where you can play more than 1 warrior a turn, is worthwhile running. The 2/2 of these guys, we don't really need them obviously until turn 4. By turn 4 you really want to have 1 of each in your hand, but it's because obviously we don't have backups and things like that. Backup has arrived. It might be a little bit difficult to get them both in your hands. Not only we are not obviously running backup has arrived because it's a set 5 card, but also remember that we don't really have much draw power in this format either. For 5 drops, we got 2 Android 13s. The main idea is that as soon as you drop 13, you want to evolve him into 13 United, which is an absolute beater. If you can get him down through evolution, he comes down with a growth coin, and Saiyans cannot touch him with their techniques. So no Kamehameha against Android 13, no Super Kamehameha against Android 13. None of the cards that would deal damage out to this guy. What else is there? Rapid sword drawing, for example. So really cool for that. It also has toughness and plunder. Plunder is definitely something that can be useful in a lot of situations. But even if you can't get 13 down in turn 5, and you can't ramp into 13 United there on turn 5 because it's got evolution 5, Android 13 United, so that means you pick this guy back in your hand and you can put this guy down for free. That's what evolution does. Even if you're stuck with the 13, that's a solid card, 6/2, but if you can upgrade, a 7/2/5/0, really solid card. And again, with that growth coin, it just really shines. Again, mostly a beater, so there isn't a lot of extra stuff that we can do with Android 13 in this particular deck. We don't have access to a lot of the Android staples, but we still very much appreciate the fact that we have access to these cards. And then finally, last but not least, we are also running one 4th form cooler. You could probably run 2 if you want to come back on the 13 United, but I think having the 1 of cooler is good enough. I seem to be using him more for his support value. That's 7-3. Put him behind the team, and if you get a Dragon Ball on him, he can also basically do a mini Dignity of the Conqueror during your strategy phase when you're attacking. And that Fierce 2, again, that Fierce 2 is very useful. And unlike Thrash, Fierce adds up between the warriors. So if you have a Mummy Man and you have a 4th form Cooler in the same team, you're actually milling your opponent for 3 cards from their deck if you win that particular battle. But the deck is predominantly villain heavy when it comes to the warriors, as you could see. Yes, there is very much a good splash of alien in there, but the main focus is on the androids late game. You want to get these guys down, and the cooler guys are mostly support, mostly helping you to get to the end game and hopefully win it as well. Moving on to our techniques lineup, there is a few good pump techniques in this particular set 4, but because we are not running super, we don't have access to continuous die missile, but we do have access to sudden change. Now sudden change you can only use as a defensive technique because you can only use it when you're the defender, but for 1 colorless chi, you can give one of your guys +0/+2. So it's good, but it's very circumstantial, so be careful with this card. You can't use it if you're defending with the 1 warrior. You need to have somebody behind your warrior to actually be able to pull off sudden change. Because remember, if you have only 1 warrior in your team, that 1 warrior will be your head warrior, and then the attack value is the one you look for and not the support value. Still a really good card, really good little flex card. Where we bank in on running the alien setup, we have 3 Salsa Blade. It is not a good pump technique. You must be able to use it. You need to have at least 1 Cooler Force Warrior in play because your requirement is Cooler Force. You need to have a Dragon Ball coin on that Cooler Force Warrior as well, and your opponent gets one of the opposing warriors gets -X+0 equal to the amount of Cooler Force warriors that you have in play. So if you only got like 1 of the Cooler Force guys down, if you have an ace down, that is -1. It's not great, but it's only 1 chi as well, so technically it's a free technique because you pay the 1 chi, but then you get this into your chi. So it's in there. I've not had a massive success with this Salsa Blade during the games we've played, but there isn't much better to run when you're running with alien and villain in this format. We do have 2 Sucking Blood. Just a good little healing effect. Your requirement is an injured status warrior, but you can also give -1/-1 to one of your opposing warriors with a turn cost of 2 or less. So not only you can heal your own card, but you can also minus your opponent's card. So it's kind of like a little bit of both. You get the heal effect, you also have a bit of a pump effect in there. And this is it for our pumps, basically. And of course, being set 4, we have to run the 1 copy of DOTC. We still, obviously, very much obey the final rulings of the of Bandai, where they say Dignity of the Conqueror is limited to 1 per deck, so we absolutely obey that. And I had a really cool interaction with this card. 9 times out of 10 you would use it to move one of your opponent's warriors out of their team and put it back on the deployment zone. But my opponent actually, KK's Jorel, actually played Self-Destruction. And if you guys don't know that card, check it out. It's an turn 8 cost card, and it costs like 5 chi, which is ridiculous. And it basically blows up everybody in the attacking team. So I was like, oh shit. I had an Android 13, I had a Cooler 4th form, so I played DOTC with Cooler to actually draw out my own Cooler. I lost the battle, but it didn't matter because all of them got blown up by self-destruction anyway. So there is that 10% chance where you might be using DOTC to actually pull one of your own guys out from a very dodgy situation. And then moving on to the events, we have 3 Rule by the Evil. just a bit of extra taxing effect on your opponent's hand. So as long as this card's in play, it comes down with a time limit of 1, so it's realistically in play for like 2 of your turns, something like that. 2 of your opponent's turns. Their warriors get +1 turn cost in their hands, so you can slow them down a little bit. We also have Appointment to the Force. That is basically to allow us to get extra Cooler Force cards when we are the attackers. Attacker strategy for free, you can basically make one of your guys into a Cooler Force or Freezer Force, Ginyu Force even, or Cooler Force. So that would obviously count towards the Salsa Blade as well, and you can make that guy just to be able to use Salsa Blade, even just for that -1. But if you have a Naze down, then that's a -2. If you have Dura down, -3. You catch my drift. So there you go, that's that. And then last but not least, we also have a Mysterious Android. It's a card that I wanted to try out, seeing as we're playing, these fringe formats, but I never actually got to play it. But I quite like the idea of turn 5, for 1 chi to play and then another chi to actually activate it. You get basically a second drop. So what you can do is, let's say turn 4, you manage to play 14 and 15. Excellent stuff. Come the next turn, you play 13. You evolve him into 13 United. You play Mysterious Android, and let's say you build a team like this, where I'm just spitballing here really, but you got a team of 7, 10, 11 plus 3, because this counts as a 3/3 android, so you got a team of 14, which is it's a really strong team to have to deal with in a limited format where you're only running cards from one specific set. Unfortunately, I never got around to actually try this out, but I'm trying to maybe look into including this in more of my decks, because it's an interesting card. There aren't many extra cards that allow you to basically be used as a warrior. There's maybe another one, Clone Jutsu, I think, which is a technique, but I think as far as events go, this is a unique one in that sense. Right, guys, so I really hope you've enjoyed this video looking at my set for, what is it, Alien Unique deck? Alien Villain deck, even. And up until next time, players, keep the game alive, keep it clean, and Bus in signing out. Peace out, YouTube.